You want answers?
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
You want answers?
You have offended my family.
I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth.
And you have offended Shaolin Temple.
You can't handle the truth.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Radical Rant.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Got to rant a little bit on this story we covered earlier on the Michigan Narcotics Task Force raiding the medical marijuana patient lounge. Late breaking news off the wires. Cannabis Carry gave me the news that all of the people found inside were indeed legal medical marijuana patients, and the gentleman who was running the little club for the patients to gather and medicate himself is suffering from cancer. So there's a delay here on whether or not they'll be prosecuting the guy because, you know, it doesn't look so good to be putting cancer patients in prison for 15 years. But I wanted to talk about this whole notion about the medical marijuana lounges or cannabis cafes, because within this story, they get a quote from the sheriff. I just wanted to pull this up. It was Ingham County Sheriff Gene Rigglesworth, whose department handles law enforcement in the county, has called the club, quote, a joke. Quote, this is exactly what law enforcement said would happen when they passed the medical marijuana ballot measure. This has nothing to do with medicinal marijuana. This has to do with getting high. And as I read this is in the Lansing Journal. I've got it up at stash.normal.org if you want to check it out, leave some comments or whatever. But the sheriff was also joined in the comments by some people. Some of the readers of the Lansing Journal added these comments. Let me just read a couple for you here. This club is not what I voted yes on. This was all supposed to be done out of sight in the privacy of one's home. I hope this law gets changed to eliminate these loopholes without harming the intent of what we thought we were voting yes on. Here's another comment. I agree that these places are a joke, nothing but a big pot session. Sit around and get stoned with other stoners. And our third one, a raid means there is something unlawful going on, so they are not law-abiding citizens. Duh. Another good job by the sheriff. You can't just go smoke marijuana anywhere you want, people. Well, first of all, a raid does not mean something unlawful was going on. It means something suspected of being unlawful may have been going on. Lots of times the police raid places where there's nothing going on, but let's just leave that aside for now. Let's just get to this notion that sick and disabled people using medical marijuana should be shut-ins, chained to a radiator in their basement to use their medical marijuana. Imagine for a minute that you live your life with some severe chronic pain, right? It's so bad that like getting out of bed is a major effort for you. Or maybe you've got seizures or muscle spasms and your life is filled with constantly fighting your own body, trying to control the tremors or the seizures that make you just so uncomfortable in public and can even hurt yourself and others. Or maybe you've got a digestive problem. That's it. Maybe you got chronic nausea or maybe an irritable bowel syndrome, one direction or the other, right? Where everywhere you go, you got to know where the toilet is. At any moment you may be puking or something worse. Or maybe you got brain cancer, right? And you got no hair on your head and your eyebrows are gone because you got chemotherapy treatments, or maybe you're pale and gaunt from HIV AIDS. And either way, everywhere you go, people shun you. They kind of step away from you, afraid that you're contagious. You're going to catch something. The physical ailments are tough enough to deal with. These people have an emotional toll of dealing with being sick and disabled, constantly weak, out of control, anxious, and shunned by the people around them because of their physical ailments. Now, we know from medical science that sick and disabled people with good social support systems do better than people that are lonely shut-ins. So why would we want to discourage medical marijuana patients from sharing each other's company? Because the sheriff and the other commenters that I mentioned said this has to do with getting high. Well, what is getting high anyway? Is it relieving stress? Is it relaxing your body and having a laugh with friends? Socializing? Maybe catching a little buzz? Sick and disabled people shouldn't be allowed to do that? Because I know if these 6 or 7 medical marijuana patients were down the street at the tavern tying one on to get a little bit of buzz, nobody would have even blinked an eye at it, right? So it can't be that we have a problem with people getting a buzz on, is it? Because apparently we don't. We have taverns and bars all over this country. But the thing is that these people just can't get past the demonization of cannabis use. They see people that are smoking pot and they immediately think moral thoughts about it. They have a moral judgment about it, that they are, like we talked about with Major Neil Franklin, that they're trash, that they're the cause of all the problems in the world. So he can't see, this sheriff just can't see that this is a medicinal use of marijuana and thinks that it has nothing to do with medical marijuana. The reason why is because he sees people in a social setting and therefore it can't be medical. But the problem is, people use medicine in social settings all the time. If they were OxyContin patients, they could be medicating in a social setting. They could be popping a pill if they felt a little pain. People who are on Prevacid, they can take it sitting at the table of their restaurant before they start to eat. Darvocet patients can pop one while sitting in the bleachers of a ball game if their back starts to hurt. The diabetic at a rock concert could go to the restroom and shoot up some insulin. And let's not even talk about the guys using Viagra, Levitra, and Cialis, which is the perfect example of medication and socialization as one. None of these options are available to the medical marijuana patients. They are expected to be shut-ins in their home, medicating out of public view. That's what it says in the laws. Because if the patient's nauseous at the restaurant, nobody's going to let her light up a doobie. Not even outside with the tobacco smokers in the cold and the rain. Even if the medical marijuana patient's starting to feel a little pain from sitting in that cold bleacher seat at the ball game, he can't even bring in a medicated cookie to get by. He'll scarf down as many hot dogs and nachos as he wants, but no medicated cookies. If the medical marijuana patient goes to a rock concert and is seizing or spasming, he can't just light up a, well, maybe some rock concerts, but still, they'd be facing the possibility of losing their medical marijuana card because they're caught in public view medicating. The point is that medical marijuana patients do not have the social options that users of other medicines have. Therefore, the need for these patient lounges and cannabis cafes that provide a social outlet for people who otherwise would be shut into their home, expected to, you have to make the choice. You can either have a social life or you can use the safest, most effective medicine that helps your condition. It's ridiculous. These are legal users of medical marijuana. The guy was a legal provider of medical marijuana. He wasn't even operating it as a dispensary. He was offering, like the Cannabis Cafe in Oregon here, people could bring their own, or if the host had some to donate, he'd donate, and they were just basically smoke sessions. People having a chance to get out and having a chance to meet other people that are in the same situation they're in. It's disgusting that we can't allow these people and that we would have some sort of moral judgment against what they're doing merely because they're in a room with other people doing it. People can't get around the idea, and it's because medical marijuana is more than just medicine. It's also a social thing. And there's nothing wrong with that. If these people want to get together in social groups and make networks of friends and have a little joy in their life for once, why is that such an issue? I'm going to bring in Ganja John on this because we talk about this all the time, you know, and we talked about the Cannabis Cafe many times about this, and it is truly a mental health issue for so many people.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I was just telling the guys in the chat, you know, before the Cannabis Cafe here in Portland, I didn't have a single friend in Portland. I didn't know anyone.
Yeah.
And now I have people calling me every day. You know, it's and you know, I wouldn't have this job if it wasn't for the cafe. And honestly, you know, I've told so many people this. 20% of it is medicating. 80% of it is the social aspect.
Yeah.
And you know what? Everyone in that place has something in common, whether it be medical or whether they're just a stoner.
Yeah.
You know, they have something in common. And you know what? It's the happiest place I've ever been.
Oh, yeah. You know, I always talked about how our Cannabis Cafe was like what you'd see in a beer commercial or like Cheers on TV, right?
Perfect bar.
You want to go where everybody knows your name, that kind of thing. You know, everybody knows your name, and it was a happy place.
You came down the stairs and people would say your name from the bar.
Yeah.
And, you know, it was like a bar where no one was depressed and no one was upset, you know. So
yeah, no fights, no puking.
Yeah. Well,
it's a beautiful thing, and why we can't allow that, or why people would have a problem with that when they seem to so willingly accept taverns, bars, where we know there's domestic violence coming out of that, there's drunk driving coming out of that, there's all sorts of social ills. Leave the patients alone, for God's sake. For you in Michigan, for Colorado, California, Oregon, Washington, Alaska, Hawaii, Rhode Island, Maine, all the states, New Mexico, New Jersey, leave them alone. Leave all the patients alone throughout this great country and throughout the entire world. It's a tough enough world to live in when you're suffering. Give them a break. Quit prosecuting them. Quit going after them. Come to your senses, law enforcement. Like Major Franklin said, it's time this has to end. I'm Radical Russ from Rolla J Studios here, and on behalf of the Normal Foundation and Ganja John and Cannabis Carry, thanks for joining us, and stay tuned for the replays at 3, 5, 7, and 9. We are live every weekday, 1 p.m. Pacific at live.normal.org. And until next time, take care of each other, tokers.
This is Normal Show Live, the voice of the Marijuana Nation.
Take it on one more time. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it, and it goes down smooth.
Are you or is someone you know a marijuana smoker? Have you or is someone in your family been arrested for a marijuana violation?